Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's your girl, that's Abby. Today I have with me Michelle and
Adam.
And I will be asking them questions about their relationship with God and their trust in God. Let's get straight to the video. So for starters, since we're going to be talking about, relationships with God, so on and so forth, let's just know the definition of what a relationship is. So a relationship is the way in which two or more concepts, objects, or people are connected. So between the two of you, how does having a relationship with God look like to you? Chino?
I was actually talking to my dad about this yesterday, and he was saying that a relationship with God is personal. It doesn't reflect on how the outside world thinks that your relationship or your walk with God should look like or what it should entail. It's more so about you, what you hear from God, what you say to God, and your personal talk with God. So it really, for me personally, I block out everything and everybody, because at the end of the day, nobody is in my shoes. Nobody knows what I go through. It just is really God. So that's what a personal relationship with God looks like. It is.
Okay. And Adam?
I think she said it all, to be honest. I think it consists of seeking out who he is, thinking about things he's done. She said it a lot. It consists of praying a lot, obviously, because praying is our communication to him. It consists of singing worship songs or praise or whatever it is that it entails. And it entails of giving, and it entails of telling people about him. So I think that's what it means, that relationship, this constant communication back and forth with the Father and the child.
So between having that connection with God and everything else that you guys stated, what does God actually mean to you? Is he your friend, your father, your helper? Who is he exactly to you?
I don't think that there's a soul relationship. I think he's really all in one. In your time of need, he's your helper, but he's also your friend, because sometimes you'll be going through things that you can't talk to with your sisters and your brothers or your friends. He's your journal, he's your notebook, he's your provider, he's your father, first and foremost. So I think that for me, God is everything wrapped in.
That's good.
As she basically said it all, to be honest, I would also include that he's your friend. It tells us in the Bible that Abraham was the friend of God, so he's also a friend as well. And it's everything encompassed into one. Like you said, he's your father. I'm adding he's your friend, he's your advocate, he's your defender, he's your shield, he's all that kind of stuff. Yeah. That's what makes God so special. And she hit it on the head too. There's not one word that you can use to describe this. I'm ready to move forward.
Right. Okay. So my next question for the both of you is, did you decide to stay Christian because you grew up Christian, or because you have an actual relationship with God? We'll start off with Adam.
Part of it was because I grew up Christian. In my household, my parents, I'm not a PK, because technically they don't own the church, but they're heavily involved in church. So I guess I'm kind of PK. And then my aunt and uncle are in church as well. My uncle's a pastor. One of my aunts is a pastor. My other aunt, I believe she's a deaconess, so it was always just around me growing up. I wouldn't say I got my personal encounter for real with God until I was about 19. We had a convention, our organization's convention. It was in DC. It was in Baltimore. So it was in Baltimore, and I remember Saturday afternoon, we had this one session. It was this one pastor that came from Texas. He was talking about worship of enough. And I realized I was you know what? Things in my life are going the best right now. Let me listen to what he says and try to work on it and take on it. And I did. And it was July 21st, 2019. And I figured that was the day that I got that personal encounter. That it changed my perspective from okay, I grew up in church. I'm a keyboardist, I'm a drummer, I'm this, I'm that. it made it seem like if we put all those titles away and actually have that one relationship.
Yeah.
That's kind of what so it's been. I grew up in church, but like the personal like one just started to happen.
Okay. And Chinela?
So he goes to my church.
Yeah.
My parents are heavily involved in church. Before we went to Winter Shopping, we went to a church where I felt as if I didn't really have a connection because of the pastor that I knew. Just like I'm just going because I was having I would say that I really had my first encounter with God in 2020. During the pandemic, it was my senior year of college. COVID happened. I was taking like all of my major core classes. I'm talking about biochemistry, physics, you name it. I was taking the calculus all at once, and now I'm taking it online. And there was a moment where I was like, honestly, I have to figure out how I'm going to tell my parents, like, I'm not walking this year. Catch you guys next year. But I talked to my siblings, and they were just like, just pray about it. And I literally like did my best, and I prayed about it. And the way God surprised me, like God really surprised
No, really, he be
God
coming
really
through.
surprised me. I was sitting back like, wait. Huh? And after grades closed and I found out I was walking, like I had one moment in my room where I literally just like cried, and I didn't have anything to say.
Wow.
I had nothing to say because it was just like, no.
Like you
No.
did that.
I was about to see you guys in 2021, but somehow, some way, God loved me enough. Me, small little girl like me, loved me enough to really bless me like that. Like, and every time I doubt him or doubt myself, he's always like, okay, here,
Yeah.
just take it since you want to cry, take it. And so for me, like, of course I had that relationship because of my parents, but being in college and being away from home, even though I wasn't so far from home, it really made me realize, okay, like, you guys have done your part, but it's up to me to now fight for my own life. Because now I'm getting older. Of course, they always say husband, you have to pray for that by yourself. You have to start praying for your kids now by yourself. So it's like, okay, like I have to have that relationship on my own because mommy and daddy are not gonna be. And then also, I stand as like a wall for my siblings too. So if I'm praying for me, I'm praying for them.
Right.
As well. So it's just like, that encounter was what kind of ricocheted into me really being like, this, you have to be serious about this because we're fighting like warfare every day. So.
It's actually really interesting how you spoke about now you having to kind of like take control of your own, not take control of your own life, but now have that personal relationship with God. And that is exactly what I had to do this year, or not this year, but last year. So I was going to church with my mom, and it got to a point where I think the point where I had to be like, no, I need a different church was 2020. 2020 was a lot. Things really did happen, okay? Things really did happen. Like, I went through a lot of stuff that I never really thought that I would go through, because it's just like, you know, I lived an okay life. You know, my parents, they gave me an okay life, so on and so forth. But it was just like depression, sadness, and just all of these stuff. And I was just sitting in my room this one day. I finished watching a Netflix movie, and it's called God is Calling, I think. And after watching that movie, I don't know, okay? It just felt like that movie, they prayed, like took their time to pray and ask the Holy Spirit to really visit them while shooting that video or that movie, because after watching it, I just had this strong urge to pray, and I started praying in my room. I was interceding, just praying, and then it wasn't my first time really having an encounter with God, but in that moment, I felt the strongest presence I've ever felt in my life before. And I was like, God, like, oh, you're here. And what topped it all off was me going to church this one day. And mind you, I was planning on not going to church. I was too depressed to even go to church, and I just made up my mind. And so I just had this voice in my ear and was just like, no, go to church. So I was just putting on my clothes, but at the same time I was like, I'm not going to church. So I ended up going to church, and when I tell you, God was literally speaking to me, like through the pastor. Everything that the pastor was saying, it was literally directed to me. And mind you, I have never cried in church. Okay, I've never cried in church. Never thought I would ever cry in church, because like, what?
Yeah.
But that day, I was bawling my eyes out. And it literally felt like God was just like, Abby, it's okay. Like, it's really okay. I got you. Crazy. But next question is, how has growing up in an African household while being a Christian, as well as growing up in America, affected your relationship with God?
See, I think that my parents are a little bit different from African.
Yeah.
They're very lenient, but I don't want to say that they just let us. My parents, they talk us through things. They're not the type of people that would be like, okay, well, you have to do this and you have no other option but to do this. When it comes to religion, when it comes to Christianity, they will tell us, hey, this is what you're supposed to do. I'm encouraging you to do this. But if you decide that you're gonna do that, then that's up to you. I will still be your parent. I will still be here to love you and support you, but the right thing to do today. And so for us, for myself, I would say that it makes it easier to want to go to God because it's not forced. And I feel like sometimes as a child or even as an individual, when somebody's like forcing something down your throat, it's easy to get irritated by it, and it's easy to just want to rebel. It's like, okay, why are you forcing this thing on me? My parents, they've given us the option, like, okay, if you want to go to church, go. If you want to pray, pray.
Right.
That's my mom literally. If you want to pray, pray. If you don't want to pray, I can't.
That's your life.
That's your life. Like, I've done my part. You're at the age where it's like, I'll show you the way. I can't walk you down that way. So for me, like, some people might be like, oh, well, I don't go to church because like my parents, all they do is all they talk about. But for me, it's like, I appreciate the way that my parents presented it to us because I have more of a desire to pursue that and pursue God because of how they presented it. It hasn't been hard. It's been a journey, but I appreciate the journey because they gave me my choice to follow God instead of forcing it.
Yeah. I love the fact that you said that because it even ties back into what we were talking about, and I don't even think I touched point on why I wanted to transition to a different church. But the reason I wanted to was because, first of all, I was praying for this, and it got to I think just last year I wanted to seek the face of God. Like, I just wanted to have this strong relationship with God, and I wasn't understanding why. I mean, around that time I wasn't understanding why, but now I do. But I just wanted more, and I felt like the current church that I was going to, that I grew up in, wasn't necessarily giving that to me. So I was praying about this, and finally, God helped me, and I found a different church, and ever since then I have learned so much. I'm not saying anything negative or anything like that, but it's just like it gets to a certain point in your life where you're like, I need more, you know, I need more, I want more, and that's the point I got to. So
So my experience is like the complete opposite of how you had it. My parents were like this, there's no if and buts. So I grew up in, if you're from Nigeria, you probably know CSCs. I grew up in a CSC church, and CSC is just like
yeah.
It was like that. Now, granted, since we're in America, mine isn't as how it is in Nigeria. Like, but like if you group of CSC, because like there's no earrings, you can't wear like ripped jeans, you can't wear like pants, like females can't wear pants, like you have to cover, like it was like super strict on like religion and whatnot. So granted, my parents didn't force it on our throats. It wasn't like you had any other option either. It was like either you follow the way or you take this way, but still have back on the way anyway. There was no like ifs, ands, or buts. So it was kind of interesting growing up because when I was growing up as well, my grandmother came from Nigeria and lived in the US with us as well. And she was Muslim. My mom came from a Muslim family, but she converted to Christianity. So growing up, when you go to church on Sunday, and they'd be like, "Oh, is grandma coming?" And she's like, "No, grandma's not coming." So it was kind of weird for me at first because it was like, you go to church on Sunday and you say God's the true God, the only one God, and like this is the way, X, Y, and Z. But your own mother's in the house. She doesn't see Jesus. You see Jesus. Like it was weird for me at first, but like I would applaud them for not making it seem like it was almost a bad way. Like if you choose Islam, you're going to hell. It was more of like, you know, grandma believes what grandma believes. I still love her. I still, it's my mom and whatnot. We don't see eye to eye when it comes to Jesus, but at the same time, like everyone else, you can see my children and whatnot. So that kind of helped me understand who God was. Already as a child, it's like God like doesn't just see people like us.
Yeah.
He loves everyone, despite like where they come from and their background and like how they like see it as well. But then as I grew older, she ended up converting to Christianity anyway. But like another thing that was hard for me growing up is that like I was in America, we had American friends, people go to parties, they go outside, do all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it was always like, oh like no, like don't go this way because like you might get into like a shootout or like, like stuff like that. Like I remember
I had a dream. It's always a dream.
I remember I was in 8th grade.
No. I have a feeling. That's my mom telling everyone, where are you? Something's telling me. I'm like, bro, something's telling you your feelings are wrong.
Yeah, I won't forget this. This is 8th grade before we went to 9th grade, and I had worked so hard to get into this camp. And this camp was in a part of Norfolk that wasn't like the safest part of Norfolk. But the intent of the camp was to like help black men and whatnot. So I'm seeing it as like, you know, this is for like people like me, good camp and whatnot. My dad seeing it as like, oh, like this isn't like, it's in Bremerton. Like, I don't know how familiar you are with Norfolk State, like cultural things, that area. And he's like, oh, no, that's dangerous.
Yeah, that's.
But see, the thing for me was that we grew up on Sunday, we grew up in church saying that God protects you everywhere, God's everywhere. So my thing is that if God is so great, if God is so powerful, why is it that I'm only safe in like my home, I'm at church, in protection, and when I'm out there, I'm not safe at all? Now, obviously, I can't say that to him, but like, that's the kind of internal battle that I had going on for the longest. I won't say to this day I still battle with it, but I would say from like, till I was 13 to like 21, it was still like a challenge thing. Like, you know, y'all say God is so great and God is so powerful. Why is it that when I want to go on the street, I'm gonna die, but I can't do it? Who's to say that God, that someone will come right now and rob us right now?
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? Like, so that was always a challenge for me growing up, but at the same time, it made me realize that like, you know, God is everywhere, like I said, and He loves us everywhere. And no matter where we are, we'll be protected. So, you know, that was a big issue with me growing up in Christianity. It's like, you say God is so powerful, but why is God only powerful in my house and in my church? Like, how powerful is He?
Yeah.
And that makes any sense. So that was that. But at the same time, like, I appreciate growing up there as well because it taught us like punctuality, like to be late for church, to attend church service, to be active in church service, to do all those kind of things, to show like your love for God and show you the support. So my experience wasn't like the best growing up. There was no like, oh, it's Friday night, it's a school dance, can I? There was no like, oh, like homecoming. Like high school, I didn't go to homecoming until my junior year of high school. or like senior year of high school. Because there was no like, oh, that one, there's not just
Yeah.
like,
You
there
have
was
a
no option.
curfew.
So I used to like, I won't say hate, but like, it was like a hard relationship. Because it was like, God, you so good and whatnot, but why is only so good? It was for their benefit, not
Yeah.
for my benefit. So it was hard, but through like maturity, through like reading the scripture and just growing up in general, I gotta find the answers to that.
Wow.
But I like what you said because I feel as though like our parents, they pray, but it's like they pray and you still have fear.
Yes.
I feel like you can't pray and then be looking back like, oh God, pray this. That's not how it works. I try to tell my mom all the time.
Were there times in your life where you felt like giving up on the faith and trust God told you to have in it?